On March 3rd, the claws come out. Logan, rated R.
Hey everybody, it's Charlie. So they just did a big X-Men Universe Deadpool info dump. Let's sift through it. Let's just all low-key freak out about that book claw. I love how they slip stuff like that out. Like, oh, you weren't paying attention, comic book fans. Guess what? We totally did all the things. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk all about Deadpool, the future of that movie, because he basically owns the X-Men universe now. Cable, as well as New Mutants, X-Force, and the rest of the movies that they're developing. They did this huge info dump. There is a new round of the Logan giveaway. All you have to do to enter is be a subscriber and leave a Logan Deadpool related comment on this video. But the big deal first is that they confirmed that X-Force is going to be a big thing that will spin out of the Deadpool sequel. Obviously, you need Cable because he's the person that formed X-Force out of the New Mutants. I don't know how they're going to try and weave the New Mutants movie into the X-Force movie, but it sounds like they're going to be two completely separate things. So if you've never read the comics, don't worry. New Mutants is just the comic book where Cable debuted. He came back from the future. It's this really confusing story that gets tied up in the Age of Apocalypse, this clone saga, a techno-virus. They're probably not going to do that in the movies. They said that they had this idea for streamlining Cable's backstory, so he will probably still be a time traveler, and he will still form X-Force. He will still try to fight against the forces of Apocalypse, and eventually they could work up to Strife, but I don't think they're going to start off in that place. It's just way too confusing. Just Cable and Deadpool having a great self-contained adventure with Domino and a bunch of other deep cuts from the X-Men universe that will also tie in with X-Force. So you have to imagine that even though they might choose to cross Deadpool over with the main X-Men films, because he's kind of like their Hugh Jackman now, the Wolverine character that everybody loves. You put him in a movie and it's like, oh my god, I gotta go see it because I really love this character. So with that in mind, Deadpool now owns the X-Men universe, even though they're also talking about ramping up into production for this next X-Men Supernova movie. Simon Kinberg is sort of like the Kevin Feige over at Fox for all their Marvel movies, so he's mostly in charge of this next big X-Men movie. I'll address that in a second. But they're trying to keep Deadpool as separate as possible just because his tone is so different from the normal X-Men movies. So just like Marvel kept the Guardians of the Galaxy separate from the main Avengers films and then worked up to a crossover, the same thing will probably happen with Deadpool. So Deadpool is spinning off X-Force. That'll kind of be a separate thing from the main X-Men films. So the future of the X-Men universe is really cool, but you have this big dividing line where you have everything that flows from Deadpool and everything that flows from the main X-Men films. So largely, Deadpool is going to be driving the X-Men universe because Marvel is never going to do an R-rated comic book movie, and Fox has had a lot of success with that. Everyone is going crazy about Logan. That doesn't guarantee that X-Force is going to be an R-rated movie, but they just hired on someone to write the screenplay and direct. It looks like it's going to be Joe Carnahan. He's been working on it for a while now, so that's really good news. But Simon Kinberg also basically laid out the movies that they're developing right now. They're pushing deeper into the X-Men universe, and they're going to get a little bit weirder with their characters. It'll be less cookie cutter. So they've already started working on New Mutants. We know about that. That's basically a teenage version of X-Men. I think if New Mutants is successful, that will be like their Spider-Man franchise. Like Marvel is using the Spider-Man character now as its sort of teenage character, the film that really young kids get super excited about. Now, I mean, young kids get excited about all comic book movies, but there aren't a lot of protagonists in the Marvel universe that are really young, and that's really where the New Mutants fit into the X-Men universe, because most of the main X-Men are in their late 20s, way older, so they're just diversifying the same way that Marvel's diversifying. And the other really cool thing, and this isn't a spoiler for Logan or anything like that, but they did confirm that X-23 would probably get her own project eventually, or show up in somebody else's film. They'd have to be kind of careful how they use the character, because the Logan movie takes place in the future. I think we can all agree that as long as the character is awesome and it's a cool story, we'll be totally fine if they ignore the continuity. They've been doing it for the last 10 years, it's not that big a deal, but if they're going to do a young version of the character and she won't be like New Mutants age, then they would probably try to work her into the main X-Men films. Or they would try to include her in X-Force if they want to age her up and she can be super hardcore. I feel like we'd be much more excited about a hardcore version of that character than a super twee version, like the more teenage version in a New Mutants movie. Now, there's still a bunch of questions about what the future of that character is going to be, what they're going to do with Wolverine. I'm going to save a lot of those videos till after Logan comes out. And if you're on the fence about it, go see Logan. It is an amazing send-off for Hugh Jackman, saving the best for last. The next big thing is the third Deadpool movie. They've already planned a third Deadpool movie. They don't know what the story is beyond the idea of forming the X-Force team, like literally making that happen inside the Deadpool movie. So it's not going to be like Deadpool 2, Cable, cut to an X-Force movie. It'll be Deadpool 2 introducing Cable, then Deadpool 3 with Cable introducing X-Force. So I was not kidding when I said that Deadpool owns the X-Men universe now, because any X-Men movie is going to earn a lot of money, but I feel like Deadpool is the one that won the fans over, so that's what most people are going to come back to. But Mr. Sinister, the big ticket news item, so everybody was wondering after X-Men Apocalypse, what is going on? We hadn't heard anything about him in the Logan movie, so it's like, did you just forget about him? Is he going to be the villain of the next X-Men movie? What's the deal? Because initially it seemed like they were teeing up stuff for the Logan movie, but then the director came out and was like, no, this is just intended to be a self-contained Wolverine movie. Since then, the X-Men powers that be have come out and said, yes, we do have plans to introduce him into the world. Short answer is yes, we would love to see Mr. Sinister, but they didn't get too spoilery, so they didn't say when he's going to pop up, how he's going to pop up. It's just that the Nathaniel Essex tag at the end of Apocalypse was such a big deal that of course they're going to follow up on it. It just, they were confirming, because a lot of people were like, hey, if you don't say anything, we're going to assume that you're not going to do this and you're just going to forget about it, like you forgot about your continuity. But there's so much chaos in the X-Men universe right now, and they did this big info dump. Like I just talked about Deadpool, the main X-Men films, and what's going on with X-Force. That's just the tip of the iceberg. They said that they're developing an Exiles film, Alpha Flight, all these other weird X-Men universe characters. They control hundreds and hundreds of characters, but those things are less real than even like the third Deadpool movie, which they haven't even started working on yet. Speaking of which, you may have heard that Drew Goddard actually came on to Deadpool 2 to help them finish the script. So the original team is largely still in place, but whatever was happening with the script, they were having some problems. So he's the guy that helped launch the Marvel Netflix series. He did the first season of Daredevil. He was also developing the Sinister Six movie at Spider-Man. He's sort of part of that pantheon of comic book super producers, super writers who just do really amazing stories. So it makes me really excited, but they haven't revealed too much about what the actual story is beyond him just teaming up with Cable. So there's a couple big Cable arcs they could adapt for the movie, but it sounds like it's going to be an original story in the same way that the first movie did his origin story, but was largely original. They changed a bunch of stuff. So if you're looking for a Cable and Deadpool team-up story that's relatively safe for the movie, something that they might actually consider doing, Cable and Deadpool, If Looks Could Kill, is really good. Deadpool, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly is also a little bit bigger than I think they're going to go. It's them going to North Korea with a bunch of Deadpool clones, so I'm not expecting something like that, but they might get into clone stuff because of Mr. Sinister in the teaser at the end of Apocalypse, just because Mr. Sinister himself is so obsessed with bloodlines and genetic tampering. And I know a lot of you are asking about that Hulk Wolverine teaser. That's a comic book thing. I'll do a separate video about that, because if they're doing what I think they're doing, it is going to be crazy, but it has nothing to do with the movies, so don't worry about it. It's just a really big thing that they dropped casually. It's just that they could totally share Mr. Sinister with the Deadpool movies in the main X-Men movies. He's that big of a character without necessarily having to put him in the Deadpool movie. Because if they can do all that discount X-Men Mansion, Joking, Colossus, Negasonic Teenage Warhead, then they can totally do Mr. Sinister Essex Corporation stuff without actually sticking Mr. Sinister himself in the movie. They could always opt for a Suicide King storyline. That's Deadpool trying to clear his name for murder he did not commit, even though he does kill a ton of people. It involves a lot of Spider-Man, Daredevil stuff that they obviously can't use, so that involve a lot of changes to that story. But like dead presidents, all the zombie stories. But you can let me know in the comments, what do you want them to do with the future of the X-Men universe? Do you want them to cross Deadpool over with the main X-Men films, or like they say they're doing right now, do you want them to keep them separate? And just to bring it back around to Cable, what do you think about the idea of Ron Perlman versus Russell Crowe versus, say, like Stephen Lang? Now, Rob Liefeld said that they're auditioning every male actor in Hollywood for cable. It's like one of the hottest roles out there, so whoever they get, it'll probably be someone within their budget, someone that's not like a $20 million price tag. So I'm not expecting Russell Crowe, but Ron Perlman's actually pretty attainable. I mean, he's a really big actor, but he's not like $20 million big. So even though Deadpool is stealing most of the attention in the X-Men universe right now, there's still a lot of X-Men stuff happening this year. I'm actually really excited about New Mutants just because it's a really small property and I think it has a chance to surprise people. But let me know what all the questions you guys have, what kind of bonus videos do you want me to do for this in the comments below. What's going to happen next is I have new Game of Thrones I'm going to post, then there's new Walking Dead, and then there's new DC TV big Fortnite crossover stuff. That'll post on Monday. Congratulations to Noah Hang, you won last week's Logan giveaway. Please private message me on the back end of my channel so I can get your contact details. There's a new round that started in this video. I'll just announce the winner the next time I post an X-Men universe video. While you wait for that, you can click here to learn all about Iron Fist and Defenders Season 1, and you can click here for all my other Deadpool videos. Thank you so much for watching. Let's high five. I'll see you guys in the next video.